Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. Right now it is Tuesday, August 13th, and we're working with a time of 7:17 a.m. What I want to do in this video is give you updates on what's happening in camp, give you sort of an early look at some players that are potentially going to be interesting for the 5-game Thursday, $50,000 to first, Draftkings preseason week 2 prize pool. On Thursday morning, I will have more of a detailed breakdown of the positions I'm liking. Also on Patreon, I'll have my article with is going to be the finalization of where I'm going. That's linked down below. Also, if you're new, welcome. I do cover daily fantasy sports in the NFL, which this video is about. MLB, I have a video up for the MLB every day, the WNBA video every day, and the NBA, which is not till October. There's an NFL course. Another person enrolled early this morning. Very excited about it. There's a link down below to the NFL course. I also have a video on my YouTube channel that discusses more about what is in that course. It's everything I know about it. Building these stat sheets that is half constructed over my shoulder. Just want to show you what's to come. Put something on the over the shoulder behind me. But the point of this video is to be taking an early look at Thursday, really, and talking mainly about the news. So if you're not interested in updating yourself on all the knowledge, which I think is 90% of the preseason is reading beat reporters, and if I can kind of cancel out all of that reading, I probably scroll through Twitter for honestly 3 hours a day on the beat reporter lists and just looking for any type of news tidbits and read between the lines. So that's what I'm trying to do here. Over my shoulder is what is going to be kind of being constructed throughout the rest of the day today. In the next few days, a lot of blanks are going to be on this. You see the color coding because a lot of these players aren't even going to be in the NFL soon. But for the regular season, this is going to be key. I have all my key stats in here. This is something that I kind of teach you how to make in the course. Lots of it for each position, but this is just where I'm at right now. We're just working on it. Figured I'd throw it on the back of the screen, show you what's to come. So before we get into it, check out those things down below. Patreon is linked down below. I am doing preseason content. I'm updating notes every single day, similar to how this video is, except way more detailed, because we'd be here for 2 hours if I told you every single little tidbit. But I'll tell you the main highlights here. And then Patreon will also have some of the preseason sorts of my interests and things like that in an article/podcast format. That should be out around Thursday. So that all said, hit the subscribe button if you're new here. This is going to be sort of the news and notes update type video of the week on a Tuesday during the preseason. That'll probably continue to be structured the next 2 weeks as the preseason ends. And then the picks type video will come on a Thursday. But we'll take an earlier look today. So just some news to start out from the 11th, right? I have 11th and the 12th and really everything dating back till when the preseason games ended. So Dallas Goedert, he's not going to be in Philadelphia for the rest of the preseason. He got injured. They don't want to put him out there anymore. Kareem Hunt joined practice on Sunday. He joined practice with the Browns. He is right now questionable. So we know he's not playing the first half to more 10 games, whatever it is, of the NFL season. But preseason, they're saying that he might get some work in, and he's questionable right now for week 1. The Patriots continue to support Josh Gordon in his efforts, but while he's out right now and trying to get reinstated, Jacob Myers made a name for himself 2 days ago. He continues to be running with the ones right now, so he kind of got himself a roster spot already, catching 2 touchdowns in the first Patriots preseason game, and now he's playing with Tom Brady, and he continues that moving forward on Thursday, or whenever they play next, you're going to have to have interest in him, because he continues to catch touchdowns in practice from Tom Brady. So yes, he is playing with the ones right now, which is very impressive for a guy who's young. They kind of need to kind of reinvigorate their pass catchers with the younger players because they haven't had many. That's the one thing the Patriots have lacked, kind of developing their own wide receivers over the past 5 to 10 years instead of just buying them all in free agency, which usually works out and they get their Super Bowl and then Yahtzee, right? Dante Pettis, this is huge from 49ers camp. He came in as like this de facto #1 wide receiver. Now he's fighting for just a starting spot. You have Jalen Hurd playing really well. You have Deebo Samuel playing really well. But right now they're being regarded as the 2 top wide receivers in camp. Now they're not on the depth chart as the 2 top wide receivers. Marcus Goodwin's still battling an injury out there. But Dante Pettis is sliding. So if he was somebody that you liked at the beginning of the year, somebody that you wanted to target in regular season or right now DFS, not so much anymore, at least for me. I'd abandon ship. And the reason why this is relevant to the preseason is Jalen Hurd, who caught 2 touchdowns, is going to get more opportunities now in week 2, and he's potentially going to get opportunities to be the starter. That just tells you how good his skill set is. And the same exact thing for Deebo Samuel, who continues to make impressive catches in camp. Mecole Hardman for Kansas City. We saw him kind of first touchdown, his first touch or whatever it was in the preseason game, scored a touchdown. Andy Reid keeps comparing him to Tyreek Hill, a mix between Tyreek Hill and Chris Conley, who we will talk about shortly, Chris Conley. But just remember that name, Mecole Hardman. He's going to be somebody that I continue want to look at in preseason games. Jimmy G is going to start week 2 for the 49ers. Nothing there in terms of wanting to start him, just the news and notes that the backups in Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard are going to be sort of the guys that coming in second and third playing the worst players, which is good to know. So looking forward to Thursday, we already know that CJ Beathard is going to come in second. He hurt his hand or whatever it was, but he's coming in second. Nick Mullins is coming in third. They want to see Beathard play against more difficult opponents. They don't think that he's the QB2 right now. Mullins is winning the QB2 job, but they want Beathard to have that action against the more the better players, like the second string defense instead of the third. So what that tells me is Nick Mullins is in a great spot. He's going to play the second half. He's going to play most of the third, maybe some of the fourth. He's going to get a lot of opportunities against really bad players, and I believe right now he's the backup in San Francisco. So keep an eye on that. Raheem Morset was injured in Saturday's game for the 49ers. They continue to have a thinned-out backfield. Jerome McKinnon was placed on IR to start the season, so Tevin Coleman's going to have a lot of opportunities. Matt Breida in the preseason is also going to have some opportunities, so keep an eye on that. Trent Taylor, also, this team is just battling injuries between Beathard, between all these running backs. Trent Taylor is probably going to be done for the rest of the preseason. They're saying 4 to 6 weeks is the optimistic when they can potentially get him back. So again, more opportunities for the Deebo Samuels, more opportunities for the other 49ers like Hurd out there right now. Quincy Enunwa is looking 100% in practice, but there's a couple things to note on Enunwa. Right now, they're saying that Ty Montgomery can catch a ton of passes. They're saying that Jamison Crowder can catch 100 passes in the slot in Jets camp. If that's the case, if Jamison Crowder is going to be out there playing in the slot and they have all this hype, they're building packages around him. Quincy Enunwa, when he moved from the slot to the outside last year, he was so much worse. The slot overall for wide receivers is a fantastic spot to play. Now when you move from the slot to the outside, it's terrible. He specifically was terrible when they put Jermaine Kearse in the slot. So I'm not, even though he's looking 100%, he's looking dominant in camp. Maybe he's improved his outside route running. I haven't seen really any articles about that. But if he's not in the slot to start the season and not there for the majority, and Jamison Crowder is, and Ty Montgomery are, which I imagine, I'm not going to be as high on Quincy Enunwa. So in the coming weeks, I do like Ty Montgomery still for preseason looks. Quincy Enunwa, though, that's kind of just a tidbit to take moving forward. Terry McLaurin is standing out right now in the Redskins camp. He's regarded as their number 1 wide receiver. So he's a young kid, and he's going to continue to get opportunities in the preseason. And if he actually has this wide receiver 1 type talent and has extended opportunities in the preseason, that usually meshes well. A lot of teams don't play their primary defensive backs due to injuries, due to just not wanting to play them in week 2. They don't play them until week 3. A lot of teams play them for 1 series, and a guy like McLaurin should be playing probably more than 1 quarter as a young guy trying to continue to grow before the actual season starts. So remember that name, Terry McLaurin. He's probably going to be somebody who's on my radar come Thursday, depending on when the Redskins play. I don't actually have the schedule right now for those games, but they're going to play sometime this weekend. So that's something to keep in mind. Julio took his first practice. Calvin Ridley got back to practice 2 days ago. That is also good to see. Nick Foles continues to have a solid camp, and going along with Nick Foles is Chris Conley. Nick Foles yesterday threw a 70-yard touchdown to Chris Conley. I cannot overstate how much of a connection right now in Jaguars camp there is between Nick Foles and Chris Conley. Nick Foles is going to start the season. If he plays a quarter in this next game or a quarter and a half in week 2, and Chris Conley is out there the whole time, I'm going to have so much interest in Chris Conley, because if they just play a quarter together, if Nick Foles attempts 10 to 12 passes in a quarter, I would be shocked if 4 of those passes aren't targeted to Chris Conley. The amount of hype and the amount of attempts that have been targeted his way in practice right now is ridiculous, according to the beat reporters. So 70-yard touchdown to Conley yesterday. Good to see. Darren Sproles apparently still looks quick as ever in practice. Probably just some hype and buzzwords that they're throwing out there. But what I want to say here is that, yeah, Miles Sanders is the guy that probably takes over as the number 1 back for Philadelphia. And that's what they're saying right now. But does that mean 20-plus carries? No. That backfield is loaded. You have Josh Adams, who is this rookie sensation, supposed to be last year, still back there. You have Corey Clement, who's great. You have Jordan Howard, who they acquired. You now have Darren Sproles. Like 12 carries per game might lead these Philadelphia Eagles, and that's not enough to really want you to get there in the regular season. The preseason, I do still think Miles Sanders has a lot of talent, but again, they have 5 backs that are going to be making this roster probably in some capacity. Maybe they cut one in a Corey Clement or Wendell Smallwood. But regardless, I don't think that there's going to be too many opportunities, even in the preseason for Sanders. We saw him have only 3 carries week 1. I don't think you'll ever see him get to like 8+ opportunities between targets and touches on the ground. So yeah, I'm not too high. I'm high on Sanders for the regular season, not higher than others. Not too high anymore on him during the preseason, as they kind of showed us that they want to see what they have in Howard in this offense, and they obviously have way more backs that have to rotate in during the preseason games. Jake Butt has now practiced 2 days in a row for Denver. That's good to see. The young kid last year, tight end, who tore his ACL before the season even started, seems to be practicing, seems to be fine. The Browns signed former Cowboys tight end Rico Gathers. This is kind of important, definitely for the preseason. Gathers was a talented tight end back there. There was just so much depth. You had all the guys Even with Jason Witten not there last year, Gathers couldn't get on the field. They had potentially some off-the-field issues, but nothing really ever reported. But with Gathers, he's an athletic tight end to pair with David Njoku. I imagine he gets a lot of run to see what exactly they have in him, then decide if they want to give him a roster spot or not. So in terms of tight ends, once the Browns are on the slate, I am going to be looking at Rico Gathers, seeing what the news is on him, the updated news, and I'm going to have interest. So keep an eye on Rico Gathers, a very athletically gifted tight end, dominant, huge, quick, everything, catches the ball, just hopefully catches the ball right, but catches the ball in terms of coverage catches, right, contested catches. So that's somewhere that I'm probably going to be looking. Jake Kumru continues to stand out. I mean, all the Packers beat writers as a Packers fan making jokes that he's going to be an all-pro this year, but he continues to stand out. He continues to run with not only the first team offense and Aaron Rodgers, and Rodgers is raving about him, and if Aaron Rodgers says good things about you, that's pretty good. But he continues to run with the first and second team. This is a guy who can play like a whole half in the preseason because he kind of was in that weird in-between where he needs to be playing with the ones a little bit to see if he's going to be that fifth wide receiver for the team, but also be playing with the twos because maybe he'll be on the practice unit and not really be getting game action. So good to see Jake Kumru still out there. Should be getting a ton of snaps in the Week 2 preseason game. So here's the update in terms of the Giants quarterbacks and the wide receivers they're targeting. Eli Manning has been targeting Cody Lattimore in practice. They seem to have the tightest connection. And we already know, we were on it Week 1, Benny Fowler is the man Daniel Jones has been targeting. Scored a touchdown in Week 1 through Daniel Jones. So if you think that Daniel Jones continues to see more run, and Eli should be seeing some run in this Week 2, and then Daniel Jones comes in against worse defenders, Benny Fowler makes sense as another guy to keep out there. Benny Fowler should be playing maybe the first quarter and a half because he's going to have a lot of opportunities to show what he can do because this Giants wide receiver corps, Golden Tate's going to be suspended. Sterling Shepard probably not going to play Week 1 even though he thinks he is. No Odell. Corey Coleman torn ACL. It's Cody Lattimore and Benny Fowler. Obviously Saquon's going to be a great receiver for them as a running back. Obviously Evan Ingram's going to be dominant. But in terms of actual wide receivers on the outside, it's Benny Fowler, Cody Lattimore. Right now Daniel Jones is targeting Benny Fowler. I still have a lot of interest in Benny Fowler. And Eli's targeting Cody Lattimore. Eli shouldn't play that much in Week 2, so I'm not going to be having too much interest in Cody Lattimore as of right now. Even more hype around Ty Montgomery's building. He's supposed to be playing extended run in Week 2. More opportunities. Le'Veon Bell came back to practice, but again, he was padded. He had his first practice, had a lot of good things to say. Still look quick, as you would expect. I don't think 1 year out of the league is going to really turn an elite running back into just a can of soup out of nowhere. I don't even know what that analogy is. But yeah, Ty Montgomery is gaining a lot of hype. Le'Veon Bell just quick in terms of season-long leagues. I'd be really worried. Adam Gase plays at a slow pace. They already have Jamison Crowder going to take a lot of short passes, they're saying. They have Ty Montgomery they want to implement in as a running back and receiver to take away a lot of the kind of the gadgety type work that Bell has been good at in the screen game or the short pass game. So I'd be worried in terms of drafting him 5th overall in a fantasy league. But for right now, Ty Montgomery is still going to be somebody that I have a ton of interest in. So getting back to the news that kind of was populating yesterday, as I open this up really quickly on my phone, the news that was populating yesterday, there continues to be more and more hype for Chris Carson as a pass-catching running back. I'm fine in Week 3 playing Chris Carson. Can't probably do it in Week 2. But yeah, he's going to catch a lot of passes, they're saying right now. Like to see that. According to Adam Levitan, Chris Godwin played all 12 of the snaps that Jameis Winston was on the field for in Week 1, and he was in the slot on all of the 3 wide receiver sleds when they went wide. We already know, we talked about it a little bit here with the Quincy Enunwa situation. When a wide receiver is in the slot, they're so much more dominant. They're facing the worst cornerbacks on the team for the most part, and they just have so much more opportunities to route their run or gain yards after contact, one in the middle of the field. Usually attraction is going to be the outside receivers. It's easier, quicker, lower A-dot targets a lot of the time, but also has that hybrid of going deep, a seam up the middle. So yeah, Chris Godwin being in the slot is fantastic. The hype around this guy is huge. I'm all on it. Again, in the preseason, if he plays in Week 3, which I imagine he does, he's going to be one of the best options in my opinion. Keyshawn Johnson's becoming a star in Cardinals camp. The Cardinals have a lot of wide receiver positions they want to fill. Kingsbury said that they might take 7 wide receivers. Usually teams take 5 to 6. They might be taking 7. So Keyshawn Johnson's most likely going to make this 53-man roster. There's a lot of other guys out there who are still Hakeem Butler and Isabella, the rookie. He'll probably be making it, though. But a lot of wide receivers that they're trying to kind of implement into this offense. But right now, Keyshawn Johnson is a guy that if he's playing in Week 2 and he's healthy, I'm going to be getting to him and looking towards him. Probably going to be talking about him again on Thursday. Dwayne Haskins apparently looks terrible. What did he throw, 3 interceptions or 4 interceptions? I think it was 3 in his first preseason game. Right now, he's locked in as the quarterback 3, which is good for the preseason, right? Facing the worst defenses. We know this kid has talent. Maybe he had a lot of the yips in that first game. But Case, this is what the coach said, Jay Gruden. Case and Colt have a little bit of a leg up on Dwayne right now. So a little bit of leg up. Don't know what that means, but that means he's the quarterback 3 come the week 2 games. So somebody I'm going to be looking at is actually Dwayne Haskins. People will jump away because of 3 interceptions. I see, okay, well, you know what? He's going to be this third quarterback in against third stringers in the mid-third to the fourth quarter. Maybe I take a shot on it. We'll see how it goes. We already talked about Miles Sanders potentially being the lead horse, but that doesn't mean 20 plus carries. It means 12. Geno Smith hurt his hand for Seattle. Remember Geno Smith, the guy who overthrew? He had like a cyst on his hand. He overthrew DK Metcalf twice on outside passes. I have a ton of interest in DK Metcalf this week because he's going to get extended run in week 2, still a rookie, but he had 4 targets, caught 1 for 8 yards in the last game. 2 of those targets, though, he got deep. He beat the defender. He had at least 1 step on the one, couple of steps on the other sideline for that pass, and Geno Smith just overthrew him twice. Geno Smith hits him there. Even if he hits him once, we're talking all about DK Metcalf this week. Oh, he caught 2 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. Oh, he caught 3 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, right? All the hype train comes. So Metcalf has been looking good in practice. I do like him. Geno, though, is hurt. They signed JT Barrett, the Ohio State quarterback, former Ohio State quarterback. So, again, maybe some interest in Barrett. He's a mobile QB as well. A lot less mobile as he aged throughout Ohio State. But another guy to kind of keep an eye on that nobody's going to be owning because he's a quarterback 3. He just signed and nobody even knows who the hell JT Barrett is unless you're a Penn State fan or alum like me or Michigan or Ohio State. If you're out there, let me know in the comments. Tight ends won't be heavily used in the Arizona offense. This is something we're continuing to see. So Ricky Seals-Jones, who was a hype type of sleeper every week last year, type of hype, whatever you want to say, cheap in DFS, he's not going to be used much. So what that tells me in the preseason games is I don't want to target tight ends on Arizona. So there's a little tidbit that you probably shouldn't target them if they're not going to be utilized in the regular season either. Chad Kelly moves ahead of Brissett for the quarterback 2 for the Colts. So Chad Kelly played really well for the Colts. Now he moves ahead of Brissett, partially because Brissett got injured, partially because Chad Kelly just looked great. So behind Andrew Luck. Now, again, Andrew Luck hasn't been practicing this week. He's not going to practice this week. He's not going to play this week. So if Chad Kelly starts for the Colts this week, week 2, we'll see how long he plays. If they tell us he's going to play a quarter and a half, he could be good. But are you going to really join the Chad Kelly hype train after he went from playing second strings and third stringers and unowned to now being highly owned playing first stringers? I'm not too sure I want to dive into that one. We'll talk about it later on Thursday. Reese Fountain, he's an Indiana wide receiver who's been showing consistency in catching the ball. He's right now on the bubble. The Colts are probably going to consider taking 6 wide receivers, but he's big and strong. He's just a name to remember come Thursday. His name is Reese Fountain. Nobody's going to be talking about him, but he's making a lot of heads turn in camp. And again, you want these bubble players that are literally fighting for a job, fighting for their career right now, and have talent, and they're going to be facing third and fourth string defenders who, for the most part, stink. Chris Lacy is fighting for a roster spot in Detroit. This is actually a really interesting spot. So Chris Lacy last year was on the scout team the entire season, and he actually was the wide receiver who always faced Darius Slay. That was his sort of build. He was built kind of big like a Julio, honestly. He's really just a huge receiver. Kenny Golladay may be a better comparison on the exact same team. Just a big receiver, fast, can make the contested catch. And Darius Slay, literally in an interview in practice yesterday, said that Chris Lacy is the reason that I had such a good season last year. I was getting to face an NFL caliber wide receiver every day in practice, and not a lot of other quarterbacks can do that. I made him better. He made me better. So that's a really big vow of confidence to Chris Lacy. He's taking advantage of some of the players that are being injured right now. And getting more reps. So Lacy is another guy in the bubble, another guy who probably makes the team. And honestly, he's a freak who's going to be facing third stringer. So I like Chris Lacy a lot coming on Thursday. Just something to keep in mind. Again, still no Andrew Luck in practice, still no Derrick Henry in practice. Luck has only practiced, according to Field Yates, 3 times since April. So that's worrisome. I don't know what's going on there. They've kind of been a little bit hush-hush on all that, but definitely worrisome. The rookie running back, Madison, for the Vikings, Coach Zimmer said that they have to continue to work on his pass protection. He's not going to be able to be the primary or backup, definitely not the primary with Dalvin Cook, but the running back 2 until he can work on his pass protection. Well, I actually like that for the preseason. Make him the running back 3. Make him play. We obviously know he's talented. Make him face. He's very talented. Make him face much worse defenders. I don't care if he can't pass protect as long as he's running the ball and catching the small, short passes. Let him not pass protect in the 1.5 quarters he plays in the preseason. So you could read that a couple different ways. He's now not going to be the RB2. That's not great for the regular season because he can't pass protect. But in the preseason, we don't care. We know Dalvin Cook's the running back. We want this guy to face worse defenders. That's what he's going to do because he can't pass protect. That's fine. The Saints continue to rave about Jared Cook, whatever that means. A lot of teams seem to do that. I remember Aaron Rodgers doing that. I remember in Oakland they were doing that, and he never seems to deliver. Although I do like Jared Cook. I think the Packers missed out on him. He made one of the best catches in Packers history, if not the best play, in my opinion. Will Fuller back at practice today. Good to see that, and that was yesterday. A.J. Brown returned to practice for Tennessee, so this is good. He's a rookie who's going to be getting a lot of time in the preseason. Remember the name A.J. Brown, kid that they spent some draft capital on. I do like A.J. Brown a lot. I like him a lot come Thursday. He's a talented kid who, again, is going to face bottom-of-the-barrel defenders. I think there's a lot of upside there. I continue to like Zach Gentry, who caught a touchdown, played really well as a pass-catching guy, improved his pass blocking, it seemed, as a tight end for the Steelers. Also like Benny Snell Jr., going to continue to like him. He continues to have good practice days, getting raves out of the camp in Pittsburgh. DK Metcalf, I have in bold because he looks strong in practice. They keep saying that this guy is really, right now, Tyler Lockett's like the wide receiver one out there with no Doug Baldwin. But they're saying DK Metcalf is going to probably be a starting wide receiver on this team. He looks fantastic. We already talked about how he should have had a much better day if Geno Smith did not #stink. So I'm going to have interest in DK moving into the Thursday games. Not as much of a depth chart type play like Chris Lacy we were talking about, or some of these other plays like an A.J. Brown, but I just think an upside play who, even if he sees a quarter and a couple of targets, can burn you on that 60-yard touchdown that he should have had at least one of in his last time out. A couple other things. Valentine Holmes is a bubble player for the Jets who's a running back and special teams player. He's going to get work, they said, in the running back department. Le'Veon Bell might play a series. After that, it's going to be a lot of mixes between the rest of the Jets running backs. You have Trent Cannon, who I don't know if he's actually going to make the team yet. This is kind of who Valentine is battling. You have Ty Montgomery, who they're raving about, definitely making the team. Elijah McGuire, most likely making the team. So a lot of running back depth on this Jets roster. But I do think that Valentine Holmes is a guy who, on the bubble, lots of talent, going to maybe have a leg up on Trent Cannon because he does play some special teams. And they're saying that he has looked good in practice, and they want to give him and see of what he can do more of in games. And so it seems like extended run coming his way for a player that nobody's going to know and nobody's going to play. Again, in Denver camp, lots of news. Jake Butt practices again. The big one, Tim Patrick moves ahead of Sutton in practice. Not on the depth chart yet, but in practice he was playing with the ones ahead of Sutton. Sutton moved to playing with the twos. I think Sutton's one of the most overrated players that has come around in the last year, right? Everybody was hyping him up in the preseason last year. He just absolutely stunk in the regular season with every opportunity that he had. He made some nice catches, but couldn't get any separation. Not the greatest of guys in terms of speed. Tim Patrick honestly played better last year, so him playing with the ones does not shock me. Just some news. Doesn't really affect week 2 too much, but news to keep in mind moving forward. Michael Floyd's looking good in Baltimore camp. There's a lot of injuries in the Baltimore camp for their wide receivers, so Michael Floyd getting some extended run. They said he's going to get some more playing time in week 2, along with some of these other starters out there. Again, it's Michael Floyd playing for Baltimore. Lamar Jackson, you can say what you want about him. I do believe he's improved as a passer. I mean, how do you not if you have a whole season in an NFL system and now a whole offseason with them building around you? But again, it's the Baltimore offense. It's going to be run heavy. It's Lamar Jackson, interesting type style, but I do think Michael Floyd's going to be on the field for a good percentage of the snaps. We already talked about Jacob Myers continuing to impress with both the first units, the primaries, and also the backups in New England. But again, just want to say Jacob Myers is getting a lot of hype from Tom Brady himself, playing a lot. Tom Brady has been wanting him to play more with the ones in practice, vowing for him. So again, Tom Brady is vowing for you. We don't hear that often, so keep an eye on that. We talked about Terry McLaurin. Looks like the Redskins wide receiver one. He's going to be one of my top interests because I imagine he plays over a quarter on Thursday. And if he's this talented and they want to see what they have in him, I expect to have at least some interest. Again, he's the first guy in, but week 2, week 3 are the weeks that you can continue to play some of these stars, especially the young ones, because they'll let their leash get extended a little bit more to see exactly how much they have in that person or how to best analyze their skill set. Chris Conley, we talked about, just finishing it up, 70-yard touchdown pass and catch from Nick Foles. Love Chris Conley come Thursday. Going to be talking about him more in the Thursday video. And then Debo Smith and Jalen Hurd, we said they're regarded right now, in theory, not on the depth chart, but in theory as the top 2 wide receivers on this team. A part of that is because Goodwin hasn't been practicing. The other part of that is because Dante Pettis has been looking terrible, and they're passing him right now. So take note of that moving forward. They're going to be playing as the second guys coming in a Debo Samuel and a Jalen Hurd, but really they're going to be regarded as these primary receivers coming in against the second unit. So that's a good spot to kind of exploit. And Alvin Kamara sat out in practice, just a day off yesterday, nothing major. So that's all the news and notes from the last 2 days of the season. There's some more on Patreon. You can go down to Patreon below, and I'm going to be updating the news and notes today and Thursday. And then on Thursday, we will kind of come through. We will break down that Thursday slate. I'll be talking about just each position by position, spending about 5 minutes on wide receiver, 5 minutes on quarterback, 5 on running back, and probably like 2 or 3 on tight end, because usually you don't have to get too deep in the preseason tight end pool. Tight ends stink in general for DFS. We got like 3 good ones in the regular season, and we're just going to be digging for trash in the preseason, right? So hopefully this video helps. Again, it's not more so the picks video. That's going to be coming on Thursday. We prefaced that in the beginning. If you made it all the way through, thank you so much. Hit the subscribe button if you got any value. Follow me on Twitter at SalVetriDFS. You can also check out the NFL Daily Fantasy course link below. There will be a video on the YouTube channel for that as well. You can go down below on Patreon and get an NFL package for exclusive content. It describes what you will get in it. You also get that for MLB or WNBA if you are interested. Again, hit me up on Twitter if you have any questions. SalVetriDFS. Thank you so much. My name's Sal. You already know that. Peace out, gang.